So since Insomniac Games went ahead and announced their two games that they're working on, of course Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine, it's safe to say that over the weekend Marvel's Avengers was under a lot of fire. Now, not just the game specifically as a whole, but more towards the dev, which is, well, not just a dev specifically, but the devs in general, should I say, which is definitely one of those crappy scenarios, I guess you could say. Now, before I continue into this video, I do want to let you guys know real quick that they have gone ahead and announced today that later this year they are increasing the power level cap from 150, where we are right now, to 175, so, and I quote, you can stand a chance against the upcoming raid against Claw. Now, of course, that's something to look forward to, and that's ultimately what was on the roadmap. Now, going back to what I just said a couple of seconds ago with Insomniac Games announcing their games, and then people really comparing it to Marvel's Avengers, that's where the devs have been under a lot of fire. Now, I do want to address a lot of things that are going on with this game, because hypothetically speaking, you can honestly say that 2022 is going to be almost like that final year for Marvel's Avengers, because the year after that, Insomniac Games will literally attempt to come in and more than likely just steal that spotlight, right? Which I guess is going to be one of those things that are bound to happen in general, but after that, it really boils down to how their endgame content will be, because right now we know that if you compare that game to Spider-Man PS4, it was a great game, but there was no endgame content. Now, equally, we can stand here and actually say the same exact thing about Marvel's Avengers, because right now we're in that predicament where we've seen the roadmap, which you're probably seeing in the background, and it really wasn't one of those big things that I guess we anticipated more, should we say, and they did actually say that they are going to have more information, and ultimately this was just kind of a teaser, essentially, but I guess a lot of anger and hate and whatever you want to call it went directly to the devs, and that's the bad situation, because I actually read an article, well, not an article, I think it was an actual post, I can't remember where I saw it, I'm pretty sure it was Reddit, but nonetheless, you may have seen it. In a nutshell, it's just saying, look, from a dev perspective, do you not actually think that we're just as disappointed as you guys when we know something is completely unfinished? Now, I don't think that was actually linked to Marvel's Avengers. I think it was just genuinely one of those things where someone who is a dev for another game or has been a dev has ultimately gone and shared their thoughts. And it's really one of those things that, you know, make you realize, and I've been saying it for a long time, that we can't blame the devs at all, because they're simply just doing what they're paid to do, basically, right? So even if they're not 100% happy with something, ultimately they don't have to say, right? It's for big guys above them that literally say we're on a deadline and it needs to be released, and ultimately whatever problems we face after that we'll just kind of fix as we go along. And that's basically how this game was released, I guess you could say. I guess a lot of people knew it wasn't up to standards, and there were a lot of bugs, and there was a lot of updates that were needed to be implemented in order for the game just to be playable. People were losing all their save files. I mean, it was absolutely just manic, right? So you can easily go back to that time period and say they literally, and when I say they, again, I'm talking about the big people, right? More than likely just went ahead and had the whole attitude of, I guess we'll just face the problem when it arises and we'll fix it as we go, right? So I've been seeing a lot of comments saying, well, you know, this game's going down the drain, it's not fun to play anymore. The end game specifically as well, it's just not there. And look, to be brutally honest with you guys, I feel the exact same way. The end game content really isn't there. A lot of things does go ahead and definitely, without a doubt, feel recycled. And honestly, it's only the fact that they're increasing the power level cap. That's literally one reason and one reason only, to just go ahead and I guess boot up the game, because you want to go ahead and of course upgrade your characters. But other than that, I mean, when it comes down to like the, you know, I mean, literally all the recurring events like the Corrupted Vibranium, Red Room Takeover, Cosmic Threat, etc, etc, I mean, some things do feel very repetitive. So again, now that we've got that element of, okay, we can at least go ahead and increase the power level cap, then all of the things do come relevant. But then after you hit that number again and you've maxed out your characters, unfortunately you just find yourself in the exact same position where you can go ahead and release as many characters as you like, and the characters will 100% be fun to play, but it's just the end game content in general. But one thing that we can't do, honestly, is just directly go at the devs, because it's just flat out not one of those things you can do. I mean, it's just so wrong on so many levels, and ultimately, like I said, it's literally just them doing their job, which I'd assume most of them go ahead and, love doing, right? They enjoy what they do, but there's definitely times that they feel frustrated without a doubt, and I guess they just can't openly say it, right? Because again, it's not really their decision. So, look, sure, you got the Spider-Man DLC, we've been talking about this for a while. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Again, the expectations are there simply because the bar was set so high by Insomniac Games, but we know it's not going to be that type of play and experience, but we know the DLC will be cool in general. But then again, it's like, okay, well, at what point does this game, I guess, officially just get watered down? And that's the fear from somebody who really wants the game to do really well, and that's why I wanted to make this video, because again, you do see other studios like Insomniac Games, and you see the 2 Marvel games they're working on now, not just one. That's another thing that you definitely need to take into account. So we know they're great for that stuff, and we've always said if they actually had Marvel's Avengers in their hands, I can 100% say without a doubt that it probably would have been doing a lot better. And when I say it like that, it's nothing towards the team specifically or anything in that sense. It's just more, I guess, like with the elements that they include in their game is a bit more different. But I guess another thing you can probably say is live service games aren't really the best road to go down all the time. In fact, if I was to ever make a game, especially with such a big title, going down the whole, literally this type of genre and the whole aspect to it, it's just live service is a no-go. There's only so many games that have literally you can say have done well as a live service game, but there's more that just have gone ahead and literally completely fallen off than the ones that have actually stayed on. That's just my 2 cents on it, but again, it's taken into account that there wouldn't be another game like this for at least another decade, and when you really take that stuff into account, it really hits you, because it's almost like this game is being so much that it can, and literally flip the coin and imagine that the game released today or this month or this year towards the end and had all of this content in the game. I can tell you for a fact now, even if it still had the same sort of launch as it did when it did happen, even with the bugs and everything, because there would have been so much endgame content in general, I don't think people would actually be complaining about the game, and I think the only complaints would actually honestly just be about the bugs, and that's just really taking an overlook on endgame content, because you finish the story mode and say, okay, what do I do after this point? Now, with all the stuff that's been added into the game, just imagine going from absolutely nothing and then having to do all of this stuff again with all of the individual characters. It'd literally take you forever to do in a good way, because you'll be really occupied, and again, it would have the longevity to it, in my opinion. Sure, there might not be a big build up and trying to rekindle numbers if they didn't do so well. I get that element of things, but you get what I'm trying to say, hopefully. But guys, that's going to wrap up this one here, so leave your thoughts on it in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day, and adios amigos.